covering, okay, the producer chooses to start with a different edition of Daily Graphic. Polling station nominations, anxiety, tension in MPP, party assures of calm, extended. And that's one of the dominant headlines in the course of the week. There have been calls for the process to be digitized so that some of the brouhaha, the tension, can be dealt with. E-levy better alternative than IMF. That's according to Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta as he rallies support for the controversial bill before they table it before the House again, or amend portions of it to reflect the consensus that they have achieved. We are waiting to see what happens in that regard. UTAG fights court order. Of course, that's one of the dominant stories in the course of the week. In fact, in the last 2 weeks, and we'll be looking at that issue extensively. Auditor General set charges accountant with 943,000 Ghana cedis, and that story is also in there. Tuesday edition of the Daily Graphic. If you want to read more on that, you can grab a copy of it. Again, the Daily Graphic on Monday led with a story about the e-levy, which says e-levy not regressive, and that's according to the Finance Minister, who is giving assurance to the Ghanaian public that the e-levy has been described by some as a regressive tax policy. It's not the reality. Block funding to insurgents, and that's according to Vice President, who made the call to West African leaders at a forum. NIA opens registration centers at Accra, Tamale, Kumasi, Stadia, premium services at Elwak Sports Stadium as they ramp up the registration, get a lot of people with the provide them with the cards. We understand 16 million people have been registered, especially in the context of the SIM card registration exercise. We need to ensure that every citizen has his or her own card so that they can access the registration. E-levy better option. The Ghanaian Times leads with that story, and that's according to Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Revenue mobilization for economic recovery, of course, are very important as we see Ghana's economy being downgraded by international credit ratings agencies. We need to mobilize revenue to achieve fiscal consolidation. Of course, it also brings into question the issue of expenditure rationalization. Ghana card registration commences at new points. Pension service gets first AstroTurf. Prison service rather get first AstroTurf under government special initiative. Quite some good news there for the inmates. On the same front page, there is a story regarding the clash in Nima, which says alleged bomb leader grabbed one of the gang leaders, has been arrested. Quite some good news, enhancing security. UTAG suspend strike lectures start Monday. The Daily Graphic led with this story on Wednesday, but there is a turn to this story because the University of Ghana branch as well as the University of Education Winneba branch of UTAG have voted against the decision by the NEC to suspend temporarily the strike action for negotiation to continue. We'll go deeper into this and look at the legalities. Of course, we have the ranking member on the legal committee in Parliament. He'll be helping us appreciate some of the legal twists in this whole matter. UTAG suspend strike for 2 weeks to engage government on demands, and that has the picture of the national president of UTAG, Professor Solomon Nuno, who we are hopeful of engaging in the discussion today. Plain-spoken engagement. Council of State meet minority consensus building high on agenda, and it has the picture of some members of the Council of States and the minority leader there in a conversation. Of course, we need to build consensus. Speaker expresses disapproval over what has been happening. He feels his decision should not be reversed by his deputy when he's not around. He was really angered by the latest decision. Of course, we'll be touching on this issue as well to see how some of these concerns can be dealt with. Commander Sugar Factory takes off April, And that's according to President Akufo-Addo. Quite some good news. We're sitting on a factory that can generate a lot of revenue, create jobs for the country. So quite some good news that in April production will start. Russia-Ukraine evacuation of Ghanaians key. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. Quite worrying yesterday when we engaged some Ghanaian students in Kiev, and the fact that they are in a very worrying situation. The Ghanaian mission, according to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, is in close contact with them to ensure that they are evacuated. President laments Russia-Ukraine conflict, expresses concern about safety, evacuations and oil prices, which have crossed the $100 mark following the tension in Ukraine. Of course, Russia is a major energy producer. Soldiers set house excavators, others ablaze in attempt to fight Galamsey. This issue has been in the news for a while now. There are those who are of the view that it's under approach to fighting. We ought not to be burning excavators, and so, but government also maintains that is its position on that. So we'll try to interrogate that matter as well. But let me quickly introduce my guest for today's discussion. On my immediate left is the Honorable Bernard Ahiafo, who is the Member of Parliament for Akachi North. Honorable, thank you so much. Akachi South, rather. Thank you so much. Maybe I'm trying to move you to the north. Honorable is also the ranking Legal Affairs Committee. Of course, some of the issues we'll be discussing today borders on legality, and he'll be helping us with some maybe constitutional interpretation and analysis. Just after him is the Honorable Dr. Kingsley Nyako, who is the Member of Parliament for Kwada. So, Honorable, thank you so much for your time. Later on the program, we'll be engaging some analysts, some representatives of unions who have been in the news recently, demanding either transport fare or improved condition of service. Well, the University of Ghana and the University of Education, Winneba branches of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, voted against a decision by the National Executive Committee of UTAG to suspend its nationwide strike. The association on Monday resolved to suspend its industrial action temporarily following an emergency meeting to assess the ongoing strike. The decision came on the back of meetings held between UTAG, Parliament Education Committee, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Education and Labour Ministers last week. UTAG's National Executive Committee said the strike suspension will last until March 4, hoping that a favourable outcome will come from the deliberation with government. UTAG wants government to restore their 2012 condition of service, which pegged the monthly income of entry-level lecturers at a little over $2,000 instead of the current $197 USD. Of course, UTAG has been on strike since January 10, but some of them have resolved to return into the lecture halls pending the outcome of engagement with government in 2 weeks' time. 2 institutions have voted not to return. We'll try to see where this whole matter is heading to. Honorable, let me start with you. Quite worrying that after UTAG National Executive resolved to return to lecture halls, 2 prominent institutions have voted against such a decision.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Let me also use the chance to say a very good morning to your cherished viewers and listeners. Not forgetting the people of Akachi South constituency.
And Akachi North.
Yes, with whose sovereign will I am in Parliament. As a matter of fact, the Select Committee on Education in the matter. Now let's look at it this way. The decision to suspend the strike was a decision of the courts. Now, when a court of competent jurisdiction gives a decision or an order, it should be obeyed unless otherwise set aside. So once the courts have given the decision, no matter how bad the decision is, it must be obeyed. Because failure to obey the decision of the court would amount to contempt of court. So by the decision of the court to suspend the strike action, the leadership of UTAG have no option but to ask that the strike action be suspended in line with the court order. Because if they fail so to do, the leadership will be in contempt. So in compliance with the court order, the leadership have also came out to say that let the strike action be suspended. Now, 2 of the universities have voted against the decision in line with their own internal rules. I must state that in certain matters, if you want to be so much legalistic, you will not resolve the problem. What is the problem? The problem is that they are asking restore us to our 2012 condition, which peg the salary at this particular point. We all know the labor law clearly spelled out that you cannot reduce a condition of service of an employee. It cannot be affected to his detriment. So we have to go into the merit of the matter. Why should a salary peg or condition of service peg at $2,000 now be reduced to a figure? Now, what brought about the reduction? And where you are going to do the reduction? UTAG is an entity made up of human beings. Have you engaged them for there to be an understanding, or you have done it unilaterally? I believe if they've been engaged right from the beginning and they saw the wisdom that resulted into the reduction, we will not be where we are today. Strike action is not good because it affects innocent citizens. Look, school has reopened, the students have gone to school, no lecturer to lecture them. They've just wasted the time in school. So, I mean, it's not in the interest of anybody for any institution to go on strike. So, conclusively, what I would say is that the leadership of UTAG have taken a decision that suspend the strike in line with the court order. The universities, based on their internal rules, are voting against that particular decision. What I'm suspecting would happen is that they will resume, and after some time they'll go back again. That will be a fresh strike. They may try and do everything possible if the matter is not resolved to circumvent the order of the courts.
In as much as they are adhering based on the engagement, we are also seeing their lawyers making moves to set aside the decision of the courts using a legal manner.
Yes, that is why I make a statement to the effect that when a decision is given by a court of competent jurisdiction, unless that decision is set aside, it must be obeyed. So the decision, as we speak right now, though they are making steps to set it aside, it has not been set aside. So it is capable of being obeyed until it is set aside. So before it is set aside, the leadership of UTAG have also taken a decision in line with the court order to suspend the strike action, though the application to set aside that decision is pending. You cannot hold them for contempt because they have complied with the court order. But what I'm saying is that, you see, if the decision of the court is not set aside, they will just resume after some time and go back if the issue is not addressed. So my main concern as a member of the education committee is that the issue must be addressed. If it is not conclusively addressed to the satisfaction of all parties, my brother, will not be solving
at the
the
committee
problem.
level of which you are a member, what's transpired the engagement with them that resulted?
Well, the committee listened to the parties, and then we made a special plea. As I indicated, innocent people are being affected. If you go on strike for a whole year, none of the executive members may not be directly affected, though they may be indirectly affected. But it is the innocent Ghanaian students who will be negatively affected by this strike action. I was ever affected by a strike action. I was supposed to go to the university in 1996, but because of the 1996 one-year strike, I ended up going to the university in 1997. So a whole year as a result of strike action has been wasted. I should have finished the university in 1999, but I ended up finishing in the year 2000. I would have finished the law school in the year 2001, but I ended up finishing in the year 2002. So as a result of strike action has been.
I'm staying a while with you on this issue because you're a member of the Education Committee. You directed the sector minister to ensure that within 2 weeks the matter is resolved.
Yes.
Is there any indication engagement has started between UTAG and the government to resolve the impasse?
Well, the indication is that they are talking, but as to the fruitfulness of the discussion is what I do not know to speak.
I'll come back to you. Let me bring in Dr. Kingsley on this. Doc, glad you could join us in the studio. What's government's position and reaction to the fact that when UTAG has decided to return to the lecture halls, the University of Ghana, this is the University of Ghana, the University of Education Winneba, have decided not to?
Okay, let me say a very good morning to your revered viewers and listeners, and to my senior and colleague member on the Education Committee, somebody I respect a lot because he's level-headed and moderate. I was there when the Select Committee of Education met the UTAG leadership, so I know what transpired there. The committee appreciated the concerns of UTAG, and I mean, we felt that their concerns were legitimate. So what we did was that we pleaded with them to look at the plight of the students, the plight of parents, the current economic environment, suspend or call off the strike, and continue to negotiate. That was what happened. In fact, on that day, we saw the willingness of UTAG, the UTAG leadership, to call off the strike. I mean, what they did. I must also say that government, through the labor minister and education minister, gave assurances to the effect that they will ensure that the negotiations subsequently will be productive and a win-win situation for the interested parties. So I was surprised when on Wednesday, University of Ghana, UTAG, and I used to teach at the University of Ghana for a period of 8 years, so I was surprised when they voted to reject the decision of the national body. I think University of Ghana, University of Education, Winneba UTAG did that. But interestingly, some other universities also voted and accepted the position of the national UTAG body. And I think that the media should also, when they are talking about University of Ghana and University of Education Winneba rejection of the position of the national UTAG leadership, they must also bring in the fact that some other universities agreed with the UTAG leadership, but I don't hear that. University of Environment and Sustainable Development and University of Health and Allied Sciences have come to the conclusion that they support what their leaders did. And I think that is very important. And I know that is resuming lectures on Monday, even though UTAG UG has said that they object to the decision by the National UTAG. The Business Executive Committee met yesterday and have come to the conclusion that Monday lectures resume.
For University of
Ghana, yes.
And this is yet to be communicated to the public?
I saw a communication signed by the registrar, Mrs. Emilia J. Mensah, that I know very well. And also, University of Health and Allied Sciences, I think they are also going
back on Monday.
Kiev University is also going back on Monday.
No, Kiev University. They went
back yesterday.
Yesterday, you know, yesterday. Today is Friday, right? I think they went on Wednesday, one of them. Yeah. Then, University of Environment and Sustainable Development, they are going on the 25th, which is today. Okay. So for me, there is progress, and I want to take this opportunity to applaud and commend the National UTAC leadership for listening to the plea by the Select Committee of Education. And I think that it is something very significant. They bought into our suggestions and our appeals. They realized that it was about time they sat down and thought more about the students. Because you see, and I said I made a point somewhere. Universities in this country are competing for students, both local students and foreign students. If you go to the major universities, you will see that they all have foreign students. International student department at the University of Ghana. So as long as you're on strike, you are putting all students, especially the foreign ones, into a certain difficult tight corner. They will also, for example, if in future somebody from their country or a friend wants to come to study in Ghana, and the University of Ghana is always on strike, do you think they want to come? Okay, so that's why the Business Executive Committee of the University of Ghana realized that if they are not proactive and they sit home, K University resumes, other universities resume. Competing for students. Okay. All these things can have, you know, some effect on you. I
get your point clear. I'm not cutting you. You're not just a member of the Education Committee. You're also your party is in government. And we've heard from the Education Minister make an offer while UTAG is on strike. From where you sit in government, is there an indication you are making an offer within the 2-week? They
met yesterday. I spoke with the Education Minister. Even before speaking with the Education Minister, I spoke with my very good friend, Professor Jampo. There was a meeting yesterday. Okay, I don't know the outcome of the meeting. After this show, I will touch base with the Minister to find out how transpired. But at least for there to have been a meeting, there's progress. What we are hoping for is that the meetings and the engagements will be productive. Something concrete should come out of that. And I hope that government, will do something. If not meeting all their needs, if they're able to do something for them, I'm optimistic that all this will come to an end. So for me, there's progress. There's progress. In this whole tussle, especially after our meeting last week. So for me, so far so good. But government, I don't think will renege on her commitment in terms of what is due.
Because I'm asking this question, we've seen in the past where UTAG or any other union will be on strike. There will be pleas for them to return to work amidst further engagement, and it often doesn't result to.
But let's hope that this time wouldn't be like the other times. We are talking in the past, we are in the present, okay? So let's be optimistic and believe that something concrete will come out of this, and I believe that something concrete will come out of that. Some of us, though we are not part of government, we are also behind the scenes trying to see how something productive and essential is. Now for them, I said, I've been a lecturer before in the West of Ghana, and I know our condition and all that, but the current economic environment is not very conducive. And my colleagues, I think, are also aware of that, and as my respected honorable friend said, it's also about the court's ruling. As academics, we must be seen to be respecting the laws of the land. If you're a teacher and you give a directive to your student and then they don't heed to your directive, you wouldn't feel good. You would say they are indisciplined. That's the case. So if you don't listen to or oblige to legal directive, it means that you are undermining the authority. And I don't think that academics will want to be seen that they are doing something that will undermine the authority of the court.
We are trying to establish contacts with the national president of UTAG, Professor Solomon Nunu, to get, we understand there was a meeting yesterday to appreciate the outcome of the meeting, whether it's been progressive, and how they're addressing the issue at University of Ghana and the University of Education. But in the meantime, we'll move on to our next subject of the day, because the governing New Patriotic Party has admitted that the absence of its Domi Kobinya Member of Parliament, Sarah Joseph, is undermining government business and the party. Speaking on Accra-based private FM, Joy FM, the party's General Secretary, John Bedu, said, with the hanged nature of the current parliament, the gender minister's absence is adversely affecting government's business in the House. Joseph was last seen in Parliament in December 2021 when she appeared in the House to dismiss claims by the minority caucus that she has been impersonated. The 2022 budget's approval. Her absence has been linked to the government delay in calling for a vote on the controversial e-levy, as it fears the vote may go into a tie. The government, however, debunks the assertion, attributing the delay to rallying support for the new revenue measure. It's been alleged by some members of her own party that she is demanding for the position of Deputy Majority Leader before she returns to the House, a position she previously occupied in the 7th Parliament and now being occupied by her colleague, the Member of Parliament for Futu, the Honourable Afenyo Markin. In the last 7 days, there have been increasing calls for the government to call her bluff by declaring her seat vacant, as she has been away for more than 15 days without permission of the Speaker. In fact, the Speaker of Parliament has confirmed this. But will the party call her bluff? That is the main question. The questions many Ghanaians have been asking. Dr. Kingsley, will your party call the bluff of the Member of Parliament for Domi Kobinya? More than 15 days of absence in Parliament as you seek to pass through the, get the e-levy passed, which has been described as very crucial to government revenue program for this year.
Yeah, you know, Ajasafo is one of my best friends, best female friends within our caucus. You know, I used to chat each other. Until recently, I'm not able to get in touch with her, and I think that.
Why is it because she's not responding to your mails?
I think the line I have is inactive right now. But the point is that I don't want to engage in speculations, because people are saying a lot of things. I'm not privy to any official because some leading figures in our party are calling for her seat to be vacated, calling for by-election and all that. But I'm saying that, the party has to be very careful of this nature. Okay? When
you say it has to be very careful, what do you mean?
No, you don't just rise and say, because as we speak, there is a near-hung parliament, 138, 137. Okay, so before you go into any by-election, because of what is happening within our caucus in relation to Sarah Adwasafo, then you must be sure that whatever you do, you're not going to lose that seat. That's why I'm saying that you need to be empirical about this. You should have done a study and all that. You don't just want to say you are going to it.
If you still hold the seat and the Member of Parliament is absenting herself from Parliament, technically you're not holding the seat, because you don't have that number to push government business.
No, but as we speak, she represents Domi Kwabenya constituents on behalf of the NPP. That's a fact. Okay, but I'm saying that any decision the party will take, the party has to be very careful. I'm sure they are engaging her. We are all human beings, right? Maybe something productive will come out of this. In taking decisions, we have to be very careful and not take that decision within an emotive environment. Because if you're not careful, you take that decision and you make a mistake. So you need to look at all the variables, look at the context well, before you come out with the decision that you have to take. Our standing orders are clear, that if you absent yourself on 15 sittings, you have to vacate your seat, and there is a trigger. Okay, I think the matter has to be referred to previous committee for the determination, and he the singer, maybe he can update my memory when I don't get it right. And I think that the report comes to the plenary, and two-thirds will have to agree to that. So it's a process, and if the process is activated, then we will deal with it. I don't have the power to activate the process. Okay, so if the process is activated, then we will make sure that...
Who has the power to activate the process?
I'm not quite sure about that.
I'll bring in
when he's making his submission.
I've seen you jotting a lot. Yeah. Not to make your point, but to help us with some education. Who has the power to activate such a clause?
Well, any member of parliament.
So he can activate it?
Yes, can raise issue of privileges on the floor of parliament and justify it. And after the justification, the matter will be referred to a privileges committee, which is already in existence. And the privileges committee will invite the member, go into the merit of the matter, and report to parliament. And at the end of the day, a decision will be taken in line with the 16 and Article 97 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we get there, I mean, for me, we have to be disciplined in the country. We need to play by the rules and all that, and the right things have to be done. So if it is activated, then we look at it.
So,
okay.
A direct question. You are a member of parliament on the ticket of the MPP.
Sure.
The MPP needs numbers in house more than ever to push government's business, not just even the e-levy. Because at any point in time, the minority caucus could call for a vote on any government's agenda of the day, and it might not go in favor of government. At a time when the government is looking for the numbers to push through the e-levy, we've seen the member of parliament for Dome Kwabena on social media platforms, and that has received a lot of backlash from even members of the MPP. What do you think that the party should be doing? The majority caucus should be doing? The majority whip should be doing?
For me, I think that passing the e-levy is not only about numbers. For me, it is about how the House see the benefits or the otherwise of that fiscal measure. Because if I just were to be around, it get passed, there will be other major decisions that will be taken subsequently. So for me, the position is that we need to ensure that both sides see the merit of this policy, how it can help us to rake in additional revenues to be able to propel the economic agenda of this country. For me, that's very important, because you see, the e-levy controversy, as you described, it is not a one-off intervention. If it is accepted by the House, it becomes an additional revenue stream that will be with us for a very long time. And the cumulative, figures might inure to our collective benefit in terms of our development. For me, that is very important. And I think that the party has been doing her part to make sure that Adwa Safo comes. There might be issues that must be resolved, but Adwa Safo herself must understand that even though she is representing Dome Kwabena on the ticket of the NPP, she is representing people who love her and who voted for her, people who took her there for her to address their needs. So she has to be mindful of the people. If you have an issue with the party, it is a different ballgame altogether.
Is there an issue with the party?
I'm saying if And I'm saying that.
So I'm asking you, is there an issue with the party? We've heard from the Honorable King Japan on our platform that she has demanded for the position of deputy majority leader.
Yeah.
We've heard an allegation by him that he has deposited 120,000, whether cedis or dollars, in her account, money that he took from the chief of staff. Yesterday, we are also learning from a report that the chief of staff had to even drive to her residence, and she was not even permitted or allowed entry into the of the embattled member of parliament.
But you know, these are information I've heard myself from people. I wouldn't say that they are not true, but I'm not a direct beneficiary of those information. So I can't sit here and confirm affirmatively that what they've said is true or otherwise. I don't do things like that. I'm an academic, and I make sure that whatever I put out there can be verified.
Okay.
If I acquiesce to what you are saying that they've said, and tomorrow they do a U-turn, my image is dented. So for me, I will wait for Adjoa to let us know what is happening. But I think that the party is doing her part to get her to come, not only serving the interests of the party or the government, but the interests of the people. For me, I live in a constituency, okay? And I will be happy if her presence in the House contributes to building the constituency and the constituent. I mean, that is what I'm interested in. Okay. But all that is going on, the speculations...
I'll come back. I have many questions for you on that. I'll come back. Let me bring in Honorable Hereford.
Yes.
You've heard the explanations by him.
I have heard him loud and clear. And we must admit that my brother has a difficulty. He belongs to the ruling government. And he will not be able to call a spade a spade. Hence, he will be evasive in providing certain answers. If I were to be, I would have behaved the same way.
That's not being fair to Ghanaians.
Because the consequence will be answering a lot of questions. Let me start by saying that the excuse that the absence of Sarah Adjoa Safo from Parliament for a continuous period of more than 15 days in a meeting is as a result of the decision to get school for the kids. For me, it is so flimsy and hollow and cannot be accepted. In fact, that excuse gives me much interest as how a lecture in metaphysics will give to a newborn baby. You can say this anywhere. So, do you mean to say that of Parliament, who is desirous of changing school or looking for school for the kids, would be justified in absenting his or herself from Parliament for a continuous period of more than 15 days? No, they shouldn't mention this particular excuse. An act that cannot be justified is bad, and it is incurably bad. No attempt, in fact, an attempt to justify it will let you look bad in the eyes of the right-thinking members of the society. So that excuse, it cannot stand. In fact, I must state that Sarah Adjoa Safo is not a baby. He is a lawyer, a member of Parliament, former deputy leader, and he's been in leadership for 4 years. So I cannot sit here and say that she didn't know what she was doing. I can undermine the level of her integrity. For every event there must be an antecedent factor. What then is the antecedent factor resulting to Sarah Adwoa Safo behaving the way he is doing? People are saying that he should be fired from Parliament. Who is going to do that? The procedure to remove a member or to declare a seat vacant is spelled out by Standing Order 16. It's clear. And it's linked up to Article 97 of the 1992 Constitution. You have to raise a matter of privileges against the person. And the Speaker will refer it to the Privileges Committee. The Privileges Committee will sit and go into the merit of the matter, generate a report. Now, who is going to raise this? If I were to be a member of the MPP in Parliament, I will not raise it. The reason is very simple. Sarah Adwoa Safo is not only a member of Parliament, but he is also the gender minister. Kingsley, is that also? Now, the president has the power to fire her as a gender minister. Now, if a whole minister responsible for the gender ministry will not be at work for God knows what number of months, but will still continue to be a minister, the president holds the power to fire such a person, but the president is not doing it.
Taking salary.
Yes, taking salary. The president is not doing it. Do you expect me, an ordinary member of Parliament,
to move a motion?
To move a motion for the conduct of such a person to be referred to the Privileges Committee? No. So I am convinced that clearly there is an antecedent factor. Until we know the antecedent factor, we wouldn't be able to have a justification for all that is happening. Because the president will not go through any procedure in removing her from office. She doesn't come to Parliament, and she doesn't go to the ministry as well. And I don't think, as we speak right now,
but I've forgotten that she's on leave.
She is performing her responsibilities as a minister. She's on leave for how long?
I don't know.
And what's the reason for the leave being granted? Is the leave period not over?
It has been extended.
It's been extended. For what reason? Those are the factors that we need to know. Because if I know that she is genuinely on leave, maybe due to medical reason, and as a result of that medical reason, she cannot come to Parliament, am I stupid to go and move a motion? Is present in Parliament, it will be indicated in the votes and proceeding. If you are absent from Parliament, absolutely, it will be indicated in the vote and proceedings. If you are absent with permission, it will also be indicated in the votes and proceedings. So if there is justification for her to be on leave from the gender ministry, the question therefore is, can that justification be applicable to the reason for her absence in Parliament, except she could have obtained leave? Now, the indication is that she wasn't the only one absent from Parliament continuously for more than 15 sitting days. There are other people involved, and those people are coming out with justification. The question is, those people equally have not obtained permission. That's why we have leadership in Parliament. So the vote and proceedings, just like how it is showing that Sarah Adwoa Safo is absent without permission, is applicable to Honorable Henry Kote and Honorable Kennedy Ohini. So the question is, why should we single out Adwoa's case and then leave others? What is good for Peter is good for Paul. Equality before the law. So let all of them go before the Privileges Committee, and let the Privileges Committee
I'll come back to
do the determination.
If I make one or two,
okay, before the question. Okay.
Bernard said that the reason that Adwoa Safo is seeking for decades is frivolous. I quoted the majority leader saying that this is what Adwoa has told him. So it's not James Abonsu who is saying that. It could be that what Adwoa Safo is saying might be true or not. He is just making a point from her. This is what she has said. As to whether what she has said is true or not, he cannot rubbish it until proper evidence is adduced. And again, I remember in October, we did the first week of October, there was a communique from the presidency signed by Eugene Ahe that Adwoa Safo's leave of absence that was supposed to have ended on 31st August had been extended based on personal reasons. Okay, so she's on it. And that Mrs. Sisadapa should take over as the caretaker.
On the last line of your submission that is based on personal reasons. The letter didn't state extension of leave of absence. This is how it was captioned.
Okay.
Extension of leave of absence for gender minister. The President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has extended the leave of absence from the office of the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Honorable Sarah Josepho, MP for Dome-Kobian, which was to have ended on 31st August 2021. The Minister sought leave of absence, for personal reasons.
Yeah, so that's what I know. What I know. So I don't know the nitty-gritties. I mean, what those reasons are. So I'm saying that we need to give the lady the benefit of the doubt. When some things happen, a lot of speculations, some of them might be true, near true, or outward false. To have patience and get into it. If people are saying, sack her, you cannot sack a member of parliament. You can sack her as a, Minister of State.
Yes.
Getting rid of her from parliament is the sole prerogative of her constituents. And as my good friend said, when somebody triggers order 16 of our standing 16, that was I said, of our standing orders, then the process can be pursued for the right determination to be arrived at. But you see, when I remember, and I'll put this on record, the day the fight happened, I think December 21, if my memory serves me right, Adwoa Safo came in a bit late. I went to her because I have some good relationship with her. I went to her and we chatted. I looked at her and I saw tears. All along, she had told me that we should meet and talk, because I've been asking her, something going on wrong, and that, can we meet and talk? She said, oh, I will let you know when I'm ready. But on that day, I went to her. I stood in front of her. I saw tears. I saw that her eyes were watery. That tells you that she's somebody who might be going through some kind of problems, some emotion and all that. So I think people should look at all these things before coming to a certain conclusion. As a psychologist, I come to conclusion by looking at certain extenuating and confounding variables. If you're not careful and you jump the gun.
Our only worry is that the Constitution has a human face. Whether you have problems or other reasons that may warrant for you to absent yourself from work, and procedure for you to follow. She hasn't followed that.
I agree with you.
And I'm asking you also, don't you think her absence is affecting government business in the House?
Of course it is. That's why I said that she has to look into the eyes of her constituents so that she counts for us to continue executing government programs to benefit her constituents and the people. I'm not happy about what is happening. I'm not happy. My good friend is not equally happy, even though he's on the other side. The more this lingers, the more it affects the progress of this nation. And Adwoa Safo should think about that. She must reflect, do introspection, and understand that it's about Ghana, it's about her constituents. And now, if I make even the assumption that she has any issues with anybody, That shouldn't warrant what she's doing. It's Ghana first. Your constituents took you there. So personal beef, if there's any, shouldn't be at the detriment of this country. You know, we all know that probably if she were around, the lady might have been passed. Okay, but I said earlier on that she shouldn't be the arrowhead. The two sides must sit together.
Unfortunately, she is the arrowhead now, because the minority have stated clearly that they are not in support of the e-levy in whatever form, whether 0.25 has been reduced or it has been reduced to 1%. It means the government will not have the support of the minority
but I said
on the e-levy. So government can only rely on its numbers in parliament to push
you know, I disagree with you partly on that. I'm saying that we need to engage. We need to come to a certain determination. Will the yield levy benefit us? If they join us to pass it, will it help us?
He said no.
Yeah,
his leadership has said no.
Oh, but I know some of his, you see, I should speak, you know, I mean, there is politics. But I know some of our colleagues on the other side who are even fed up, and they think that something different should be done about it. It's more about consultation. It's talking about the leadership. And don't forget, in this country recently, you've seen important personalities, important state institutions getting involved in all this. Okay, I think even yesterday, the Council of State met, I think, the minority leadership or so. All are being done to ensure that, I mean, we look at the bigger picture. If one day MPP is not there, it becomes an additional revenue stream, I think it will help all of us. The point is that Bernard is aware, in this country, if we want to develop and move forward, we need to expand our tax bracket. This has been argued over the years, but our revenue generation has been one-sided. Personal, I mean, income tax. And I want to listen.
When did you get to know of this?
You know,
because
Bernard,
during electioneering campaign, when NDC was in power, taxation is a lazy man's approach. As a result of which we are moving from taxation to production.
But you see,
so why are you speaking the way you are speaking
Bernard,
now?
You see, you situate these things within a certain context. When we said that we are moving this country taxation to production, and no country, no government can run without taxing, without borrowing. These are two cardinal
taxation,
measures.
borrowing, lazy man's approach.
No. The point I'm making is that no government can do that. But the point was that for this country to have strong fundamentals, it must focus on production. So the idea was that there should be a shift. That shift doesn't mean that you are going to do away with taxation.
Okay.
That's why we have the 1D1F. The idea of 1D1F is to stimulate production.
Sweet promises.
To stimulate production by having import substituting factories in this country. As we speak, we have about 106 in operation. They are providing about 150,000 jobs. We were there when I asked the question. The Minister for Trade and Industry came and answered it and gave us the figures there. Okay.
Very finally on this issue from your side, if the party decides to ensure that the constitutional provision or the standing order to get her seat vacant is moved, from where you sit, will you support the motion?
I mean, he said that motion
in the interest of the party, to ensure sanctity, to ensure decorum, so that no member of parliament can take the party to.
For me, it's not only about the party. I mean, it's about the nation. It's about how government business can move on. So if rules have been infringed upon, the necessary remedies must be activated. I don't have any issues about that. If somebody even from the minority, if my good friend decides even to activate or the system, okay, for followed, It is within our rights. So, I wouldn't want to oppose that.
So if it is true that she's demanding for the position of deputy majority leader before she returns, if that is established, you support the motion to get her removed. That's what you're saying.
No, the point is that if the processes are activated, okay, and the rules are clear, what has to be done must get numbers. Okay, if it is done, then we all follow to its logical conclusion.
You see,
bring in your colleague.
I believe strongly that when a procedure is set by law for a right to be exercised, it is that procedure that will have to be followed in exercising the right. So, as I sit here, I don't believe in going to speak as a member of parliament on radio station that you should remove this person from parliament when you know the procedure for you to adopt is not to go on radio but to invoke the powers of the Privileges Committee through a motion. I will support that particular motion. The reason being that the motion will not be carried out and then Sarah Adwoa Safo will be removed or her seat will be declared vacant. It goes before privileges. And at privileges, she is accorded the opportunity to justify the reason for his absence. And then a report would come back to plenary. And then the report will include whatever reasons she has given. But as we speak, you just go on radio to say, remove the person. Meanwhile, you have not accorded the person the opportunity. That is why the framers of the Constitution, the framers of the standing order, didn't just say simpliciter that when you absent yourself for more than 15 days, you cease to be a member of parliament. No, the matter goes before the privileges. And the privileges will go into the merit of the matter and give you the opportunity. And then the report will come for the House to determine the reasons that you have canvassed. Is it cogent? Is it reasonable? Oh, it is not reasonable. It's hollow. It's flimsy. Therefore, the seat should be declared vacant. But as we speak, such a thing have not happened. And then you just go on radio and be inciting. Remove her. He's holding the party to a ransom. When you know that you have to adopt in doing that. But you are not adopting the procedure. I believe those people are just being sensational. They should follow the rules. The rules are set to be complied with. So whoever wants any member of parliament to cease to be a member of parliament for the position to be declared vacant based on the fact that you have absented yourself for more than 15 sitting days should invoke the law. And then we'll go into the merit of the matter.
Let me something, because you quoted the Constitution. If you look at our standing order system and look at the constitutional provision, Article 97, you realize that the constitutional provision has better explanation in relation to a standing order. Standing Order 61 says a member shall not absent himself during a meeting for more than 15 seconds without the speaker. Any member infringing this order shall have his conduct referred to the previous committee. We look at the Constitution, Article 97. One says a member of parliament shall vacate his seat in parliament, A, upon the dissolution of parliament, or if he is elected as a speaker of parliament, or if he is absent without the permission in writing of the speaker, and he is unable to offer a reasonable explanation to the parliamentary committee on privileges from 15 sittings per meeting. So he's right. So yeah. So the point is that it is not you only absenting yourself. That is one leg. Other leg is that you are given the opportunity to explain yourself. If the explanation is sound, then I'm sure that you can be absolved, okay, without the absence being applied.
Next subject, but just before that, Doc,
we're discussing the e-levy.
Yes, sir.
E-levy.
Unfortunately, that's not part of it, so, but you can tie it in your response. But Doc, there are also people within your quarters who are of the view that the current leadership in Parliament, the majority caucus, is weak because the whip should be telling us where Adjosafo is. The whip should be ensuring that the party has the numbers to drive any government activity. And the whip is rather filing motions for investigation into the death of former President Mills, and which I think is not government priority presently, because the priority of government now is to pass the e-levy to get the nearly 7 billion cedis revenue to assure investors that our revenue programs are tight to help achieve fiscal consolidation. Rather, the majority chief whip is pushing for motions to get the House to set up a bipartisan committee to look into the death of former President Mills.
You know,
isn't that a misplaced priority?
My brother, we are shaped every day like himself, like his side. Our ships, our leaders are doing the best they can. But don't forget that we find ourselves within a certain novel, peculiar situation. The first time we find ourselves in a near-hang parliament. Being a leader on the majority side is not easy. So we must also appreciate the unique nature of our parliament now. It's not easy, you know.
Isn't that more of the reason why the leadership should focus on what will get results for the government?
Yeah, but I'm saying that the e-levy issue, the urgent priorities of government are being pursued. But you see, I wouldn't sit here to say that my leaders have not done what they have to. I know what we've been going through this time. But you see, because of this peculiar nature of our parliament, our brothers and sisters on that side, seeing the parity, the near parity in terms of numbers, are also capitalizing on that to achieve their legitimate political end, winning the next elections. You see, the first time in our political history under the fourth Republican dispensation, there had not been a time where we voted on our budget. I'm talking about the economic of government. The first time was in 2021 when we voted. Why? Because they saw that they have a strength. So fighting the e-levy, for me, is a certain mindset. Because if we are not voted on the 2021 budget statement economic policy of government, then I would have said that, oh, maybe what they are doing right now is okay. But we voted. So they've made up their mind that because of the numbers, though, so at that time, my brother, if we didn't have the numbers, they would have shut it down. And that is what worries me. I was happy because we had the near-hang parliament, because I was thinking for the first time, we could do something differently to put this country forward. But it appears to me that the near strength of our numbers is causing a lot of damage.
And it appears some elements within your party have not really learned from what happened in the 2020 election, which resulted in us having a near-hang parliament, because the recent incident of hoarding forms at the local level, the polling station level, which of course happened prior to 2020 and led to... We'll come to that.
Okay.
Let me give the final bite on this issue.
You see, again, I appreciate the difficulty. Because you cannot sit down here and say your leadership is not doing well. You ask the question relative to the motion to investigate the death of the former president. Prioritizing issues. Is that necessary? We have take. Why did the minority say they are not in favor of the e-levy? Various arguments have been canvassed. One, the e-levy will tax capital, but you cannot impose tax on the capital. Now, if I am keeping money in my Momo account, it's just like keeping money in a bank. So, if you are taxing that amount of money,
when you send,
it's like, yes, it's like you are putting money, your hand in my pocket. Because at the end of the day, how do I get the money there? I have to transfer it electronically. So if I have 100,000 Ghana cedis, instead of keeping it at home, I choose to operate a Momo and keep the money there. I'll have to transfer it electronically to my Momo account so that wherever I move to the mobile phone, I can access the money. Is it not the same as taking the physical cash to go and lodge in your bank account? Except that when you are moving around, you may not have the bank with you unless you move to a designated place where the bank is. So look at it this way. You manufactured a pure water, and then a distributor is coming to buy. And after purchase, he has decided to transfer the money of the cost of this water through or electronically. Would that attract tax? Should that attract tax?
Isn't that a transaction?
But it's a transaction on a capital. Normally, if after selling this particular water, whatever profit that I make, you impose tax on me. You understand? But if I use 10 cedis to buy this particular water to 12 cedis and make a margin of 2 cedis, you are taxing the 2 cedis. But the 10 cedis that I use to purchase the water, because I paid the money electronically, you are going to impose the tax on me. Now, a retailer also purchased this particular water. If a retailer is coming to purchase from the distributor, the tax that you impose on the transfer of the cost of the water, I'll add it. You understand? Then the retailer will also add it. The roadside sellers will also add it. Where are we going? So there is the need for us to sit down, you understand, and iron out the scope of the e-levy. And that is of more concern than you, a whip, filing a motion to investigate the death of the former president. Would the result of the investigation bring him back to life? Me. Okay. In the circumstances that we find ourselves, it doesn't accord with common sense and reason that you are faced with these challenges. Then you will be filing a motion to investigate the death of the former president.
Okay. We'll be back. This is Weekly Press Review, number one wrap-up analysis program. We go for a break. We return with more. Stay with us.